Okay, everybody, this is the LGBTQ News and Chat. It's a live stream, and my guest today is Gleb Tsipursky. Welcome, Gleb.
Thank you very much, Aaron. It's good to be here.
Okay, so what is this? Is disaster avoidance?
So my expertise is in helping folks avoid disasters in their professional life and in their personal lives. We tend to make many errors, judgment errors, because of how our brains are wired. And as you know from the book that I sent to you, Never Go With Your Gut, How Pioneering Leaders Make the Best Decisions and Avoid Business Disasters, that's my area of expertise, helping people avoid the dangerous judgment errors from which we all suffer.
Okay, so when somebody feels like, oh, you got something going on and your gut feeling says, I need to go with that, you're saying don't.
Correct. In the vast majority of cases, our gut feeling is going to be at least somewhat misleading, because our gut feelings are actually not adapted for the modern environment. Our modern environment is not what our gut reactions have evolved for. They evolved for the savanna environment, when we were hunters and gatherers, foragers, living in small tribes in the African savanna. And that's what they evolved for. So our gut intuitions are very tribal. We like people who look like us, who think like us, who have the same values, have the same everything that we do, and we don't like people who don't. So that is a big problem. That's a cause of a lot of discrimination in our modern world, of course, in all sorts of areas. So that's one big problem. The other big problem is the fight or flight response. We tend to make judgments way too quickly. You might have heard of it as a saber-toothed tiger response. It causes us to make a lot of bad mistakes in the modern world, the saber-toothed tiger response. So we decide way too quickly, and we make bad decisions when we go with our gut. That's often going to be the case. So you should never trust your gut. Now, your gut may be wrong or it may be right, but you should never trust it. You should always check with your head before going with your gut.
Okay, so I know in the with the LGBTQ community, there's a lot of discrimination against us.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it is this gut feeling from the others in order to judge us, and they've made wrong decisions about us, because a lot of times they, sit down and talk to us, and you would know, what you've learned so far is not what is really going on.
Exactly right. So this is a typical case of a dangerous judgment error. We have over 100 of these dangerous judgment errors. My book, Never Go With Your Gut, How Pioneering Leaders Make the Best Decisions and Avoid Business Disasters, goes through the 30 most dangerous judgment errors in professional settings. And of course, there are other dangerous judgment errors. You can go on Wikipedia, look at the list of over 100 of them. So the specific dangerous judgment error that you're talking about right now is called the horns effect, where if we don't like something about somebody, then we will tend to discriminate against the person as a whole. And of course, a lot of people who don't like others, who don't like people in the LGBT community, people who are not part of the LGBT community, and who don't like people in the LGBT community, they often describe their feeling of dislike as coming from a visceral place. It's a gut feeling. They feel in their gut that all sorts of LGBTQ activities are wrong, are bad. And that's a feeling that comes from your gut. It's not a rational decision-making process when you go and you decide that. It comes from your gut experience. So people in the LGBTQ community are especially vulnerable to other people going with their gut and harming people in the LGBTQ community through discrimination in a variety of ways. So it's especially important for people in the LGBTQ community to be advocates of good decision making and help people understand that going with their gut, that doing what's comfortable to them, that when they equate what they feel inside with what is right and what is good, that is a very dangerous pattern, and that's a very dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, I totally agree, but it's also the gut feeling of the LGBTQ community towards others, and I've noticed it within the community itself. You know, you may have gays or lesbians. They've got this gut feeling against transgender, and it causes a fracturing within the community.
Yes, it does. And this is kind of part of the tribalism aspects, where the bigger tribe of the LGBTQ community, there is a social status issue. So one of the important aspects of tribalism is our desire to climb up the social hierarchy within the tribe, so be at the top of the social hierarchy. And as you said, a number of people in the LGBTQ community, lesbians and gays, sometimes feel that they are above transgender people. So they feel that they are higher in the social status in that hierarchy of the tribe. And that, of course, causes a lot of problems and discrimination. They want to feel that they are more powerful, have a higher social status. So that's a difficult issue, and that's something that the LGBTQ community needs to address and deal with internally within its bigger tribe.
Okay. So how else do we approach this fracturing from outside and inside?
The very important thing to realize is to understand that what we feel is not necessarily true about reality. And this is very difficult for people. Most people, the vast majority of people, they equate what they feel with what is true. And that's something that, like I said, it's been damaging for the LGBTQ community, and it's been damaging within the LGBTQ community. It caused a great deal of fracturing. So you need to be on the forefronts of educating others, whether in the LGBTQ community or outside of it, that what they feel about any issue is not necessarily what is true about that issue. That applies to politics, that applies to sexuality, that applies to business, that applies to relationships. You know, a lot of people, to give another example, a lot of people stay in relationships much longer than they should because they feel it would be wrong to leave the relationship. And they don't think about the long term, that it might have been better for the person that they're in the relationship with to leave the relationship sooner. That's another example where we make bad decisions because of how we feel. And we need to step back and evaluate with our heads what's going on in the situation to make sure that we make the right decisions. I know we have only a couple of minutes left, so just...
I know I've always said that you know, within the community we need to sit down and just, you know, put all our cards on the table, but it's not just within the community that we have to do that. We have to put our cards on the table even with the Christian community, and not just the Christian community, the Muslim community, the, you know, whatever the religion is, which tends to influence those that don't know about our community. So it influences their mindset and their gut feeling. And I think, you know, I guess getting leadership down and everything to, you know, just let's sit down and let's lay it on the line. And
yeah,
I think that's difficult at times. Yeah, well, so what else do you do with the disaster avoidance?
So, like I said, my work is in helping people make better decisions in all life areas. So that's what I do. That's my area of expertise. One of the things that people don't think about, they make their decisions way too quickly. So that's a big problem. And there's a pretty easy technique that you can use, anyone can use, to make their decisions much more effective, and it only takes a couple of minutes. Here, I actually have them written out, the questions that you need to ask on this small card right here. So 5 questions, very brief. First, what important information did I not yet fully consider about this decision? So again, what important information did I not yet fully consider? You want to especially look at information that goes against your preferred beliefs. So look at information that doesn't fit your intuitions, because otherwise you'll make the decisions that fit your intuitions, and often that will be the wrong thing to do. Then, what dangerous judgment errors did I not yet fully address? And my book, Never Go With Your Gut, How Pioneering Leaders Make the Best Decisions and Avoid Business Disasters, goes through the 30 most dangerous judgment errors, and of course you can look them up online as well. Next, what would a trusted and objective advisor suggest you do? Think about who would be a trusted and objective advisor in your life. What would they suggest you do? And try to do that as opposed to what you intuitively feel is the right thing. Next, how have you addressed all the ways this decision can fail? Think about all the problems that might come up with a decision and address them in advance. Then you'll be much more likely to make the decision right. And finally, what new information will cause me to change my mind? Again, what new information will cause you to revisit this decision? If you're in the heat of the moment of implementing the decision, it's very hard to go back and change your mind. But if you decide in advance that these are the things that you need to do to change your mind, to revise your decision, that would make things much easier. So that's the kind of things I coach people on. All right. And I know we need to, I need to finish up right now, so the timing that we discussed. So let's bring it to a close.
Okay. Well, I want to thank Gleb for coming on, and hopefully I can schedule him for a longer period of time next time. And any final words?
Just remember that whatever you feel comfortable with may often be exactly the wrong thing to do. And there are very effective, simple to use, counterintuitive techniques that you can learn how to use effectively. And like I said, my book, Never Go With Your Gut, How Pioneering Leaders Make the Best Decisions and Avoid Business Disasters, is there for you to check it out. And you can check out a lot of free resources on my website, disasteravoidanceexperts.com. Again, disasteravoidanceexperts.com.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.